It's now time for Game Night, an in-depth look at tonight's football games. Game Night is brought to you by Robert Adderholt for Congress, Albertville Discount Pharmacy, Foodland of Albertville, Farmers Tell FTC, Randy Jones and Associates, and Southern Elite Realty. And now your host, Jeff Allen and Jeff Milwee.
And good afternoon and welcome into another edition of Game Night, Week 1 of the high school football schedule around North Alabama, and it's going to be a great night for high school football. Hope you're preparing or on your way to a high school football game to support your kids in your local community. Coach, welcome back in. Great week 0.
It was a good week. One thing I noticed, Jeff, there wasn't as many points scored. People played defense this week.
Not as many points scored. You're right. So maybe it's defense, maybe just not a great group of offensive players. But, again, you're right, not a lot of points scored. But we'll talk about Week 0, and I guess we'll start Week 0 with the congratulations to our team of the week, the Crossville Lions, as they started a new chapter of Crossville High School football at Crossville Memorial Stadium last Friday night. Didn't get off to a great start as Asbury scored on a big play to open up the game. Then Crossville able to win that game 24-13, a good defensive night for their team. So congratulations to Coach Jason Walker and those young men. I know from living in the community that a lot of work, a lot of commitment has gone into bringing that program back. In at least 1 week, Coach, they got to celebrate.
Yeah, I'm proud of him. I'm proud of Jason. You know, he's one of mine. He played for me, and good young man, and I know they worked very hard to get back to this point. But big win for them. One thing that they showed, you know, they got behind and came back. So that shows a lot from that group of kids.
And that's one thing that I've talked to Coach Walker about is the fact that the commitment. He's made a commitment to be there. He's in his 4th season there, 3rd season to be the head coach, even though they played the junior varsity schedule for a couple of years. He's the varsity coach. He's made a commitment to those kids, and they went through a period of about 10 or 12 years there where they seemed like had a new coach every year, not a lot of commitment in that program.
Yeah, there was a lot of stability at that time, you know, just changing out. And Jason has made a commitment, and he's a good young man, and he knows football, and they'll play hard for him.
And, of course, the Crossville Lions on the road tonight. Going to be a much more challenge tonight as they play the number 4 ranked team in Class 4A, and that's the Scottsboro Wildcats. We'll talk more about the games coming up tonight a little bit later on in the program, but Crossville wins last week. The Boaz Pirates, a big win for Boaz. They were 1-9 against the Coleman Bearcats all time. Boaz with a big win last week, and big plays in that game from the two Bennett brothers. Sage and Bo had a big night for Boaz.
Well, they're cousins.
Cousins,
yeah.
excuse me.
Yeah, and we didn't even know Bo was going to play. Bo had been in the hospital all week with strep throat. I don't think he got any practice time at all. And that shows me a lot from a 10th grader. He had 2 big passes to his cousin. I think one was 68 yards, another one 72 yards. They fell behind 14-0 and came back and took the lead late in the 3rd quarter, and then had to have 2 good goal line stands late in the 4th quarter to seal the win.
Congratulations, Luke Pruitt got the win. Of course, there's a big game tonight we're going to talk about later on as the Pruitts will play each other in Rainsville tonight. The Albertville Aggies got off to a great start. First time they've won an opening game since 2019. First time they've won a home game since 2019. Congratulations, Coach Adam Weingarten and the Albertville Aggies on a 20-14 win over Paul Bryant last week.
A good win for them. It's hard to believe they hadn't won a home game since 2019, though. But been some tough times, and Coach is doing a good job. But like I said, I said last week, I like the way he's built this football team. They had a tough game against Paul Bryant. So, but with the win, it's going to give them confidence. And second week is always the most important week.
Yeah, we'll talk more about the Albertville Aggies coming up as they go to Hazel Green tonight. Of course, you can hear that game right here on Power 107.5 FM coming up at 6:30 with a pregame and the kickoff at 7 o'clock from Hazel Green tonight. And, Coach, one of the most exciting games last week was at Aniana. Coach Jake Helveston coaching his first game for the Aniana Redskins. They were down 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. I think as late as 5 minutes in the fourth quarter, they were down a couple of scores and able to come back and defeat a very good Pleasant Grove team 42-41. That may have been the most exciting game along with the 5 game we'll talk about in a minute.
Yeah, that was one they didn't play a whole lot of defense in. Aniana was you were right, down 2 touchdowns with 5 minutes left, and had some big plays, and offense scored a bunch of points, but that surprised me a little bit. I thought that'd be a low-scoring game.
And congratulations to Coach Paul Benefield and Coach Danny Horn. They were recognized last Friday night before their game. We talked about it last week on the program. 742 wins between those two coaches. I think it's only the second time in the history of high school football in the state of Alabama where the two winningest coaches had played one another. The first time was when UMS Wright played Vestavia Hills a few years ago, and Coach Anderson and the UMS Wright coach, I can't think of his name right now.
I can see his face.
I can't. I'll think about it in a few minutes. That's what age does to you.
Yeah.
But they coached against one another. But these two, the all-time winningest coaches, and what a game as Clay Central got up 14-0. 5 came back in the second half, scored with about 2 minutes to go in the game. It went to overtime, and then on third down, they threw a pass in the end zone, that kind of a Hail Mary type pass. It was caught, made the conversion. Then Clay Central scored, went for 2 out of the wishbone, and the Fife Red Devils stoned them at the goal line.
I got tickled. Coach Benford said it was a miracle. and I guess he thought that they probably didn't throw it 4 passes all night and 2 of them for touchdown. Big win for Fife. That's the first win Paul's had over Danny. They had played 3 times, and Danny had won, or his teams had won both of them. But big win for Fife. They beat an awful good football team at their place. So I'm sure we can expect big things out of Fife this year.
Oh, when I talked to Coach Benefield about the game earlier this year, he told me, I'm going to go down there and get killed in the first game.
Yeah.
And anybody that knew Fife knew that he'd have them ready to go. And what a great win that was for the Red Devils last week, 21-20. Those are some big wins. Let's talk about some young men, and there's several that had great games last week in our area. And I'm going to start in that Aniana and Pleasant Grove game where Sam Garrison, the quarterback, the transfer quarterback, he came in. First start for Aniana, rushed for 146 yards, 4 touchdowns, passed for 188 yards and a touchdown, over 300 yards total offense, and the Redskins needed it all last week.
Yeah, and he's a very good player. I've watched him play the last few years at Susmore, and he can throw it and run it, and he's got a lot of experience. And this Aniana team is young. They got a good little running back, so I think they're going to get better each week.
Ryder Gibson in that 5 game for the Fife Red Devils against Clay Central. He rushed for 151 yards and a touchdown. Jamin Mintz of Glencoe passed for 248 yards and 5 touchdowns as B.J. Brooks, going back to his alma mater, wins his first game on the road at Hayden last week.
Yeah, big win for B.J. I'm proud for him. Glencoe's got it turned around a little bit. They had a good year last year, and I'm glad to see that.
Christian Morris of Southside, he passed for 272 yards and 3 touchdowns. We talked about Zion Dupree last week in our program on Thursday night. He rushed for 223 yards and 3 touchdowns, had pass receptions totaling 75 yards and a touchdown, had several plays called back. He had over 300 yards total offense for the Gaston Bulldogs. And Kylan Johnson, the transfer for Plainview, he was the difference Friday night as Plainview went to Good Hope. They survived over there, winning 31-24, but Kylan Johnson rushed for 90 yards and 2 touchdowns, had 8 receptions for 161 yards and a touchdown, and also he intercepted, at the end of the game, intercepted the pass that sealed the deal for the Plainview Bears.
He's a very good player. I think we said he is committed to Alabama.
I don't know that he's committed yet. He's got an offer from just about everybody in the SEC.
And I think he's as a defensive back, but he's a heck of a running back too.
I think he's being recruited for most as a defensive back, but outstanding performance. And the biggest performance in the state of Alabama, get this one, from Hewitt-Trussville quarterback Jack Floyd, who's playing for his dad. He plays at Hewitt-Trussville. They beat Auburn High School last week, He rushed for 193 yards and 4 touchdowns, and he passed for 336 yards and 3 touchdowns, accounting for 7 touchdowns in the game. And again, over 500 yards total offense for quarterback Jack Floyd of Hewitt-Trussville. There was no defense in that 56-42 win that Hewitt-Trussville had over Auburn High School last week.
These big schools got so many good players, and, they score a lot of points.
So those are some of the highlights from last week, some big wins for our local teams, some great performances for young men in our area. When we come back on game night, we're going to begin to look at the schedule this week and talk about some of the big games that are coming up tonight in our area. Thanks for listening to Game Night on Power 107.5 FM.
Albertville Discount Pharmacy has been providing prescription and healthcare needs to the Sand Mountain area for over 30 years. With 3 pharmacists, Amy Honey, Brett Hogan, and Eddie Campbell, you will feel the confidence their staff provides. They want to be your pharmacy. Phone 256-878-1515, where you can come by Albertville Discount Pharmacy, your hometown pharmacy at 422 North Broad Street in Albertville.
Hi, I'm Randy Jones, your hometown trusted choice insurance agency. Randy Jones and Associates knows the playing field, and we have been proudly serving communities across North Alabama for 46 years. Having the right protection on the field is important. The RJA team of experienced agents will help you find affordable, customized insurance coverage for your family, business, and future. Stop by a local Randy Jones Associates office for a free, no-obligation quote or complimentary policy review.
The snap is good. The connection is great. FTC brings fiber internet to your home turf this football season. No buffering, no dropped connections, just reliable high-speed internet that's built to perform where it matters most. Whether you're streaming the game or checking the scores, we've got the speed you need. Score big with FTC's fiber, your home team for high-speed internet. Call 256-638-2144 or visit farmerstel.com today. FTC, we keep you connected.
Hey guys, Jerry O'Neill, broker and owner of Southern Elite Realty. It's Friday, and it's time for some Friday night football. We're proud of the many years being a part of the Friday Night Scoreboard family. Be sure to slow down, come together with friends and family, and go support your team, making memories. When you think real estate, think Southern Elite Realty. When it's time to purchase or sell, think Southern Elite Realty. It's an honor to serve you. Check us out at mysouthernerelite.com or give us a call at 256-202-1648. Call today and let's call it sold.
It's football time in Alabama. Our students are learning big American lessons. You can start with your God-given talents, and through practice, hard work, and sacrifice, you have the ability to become champions. This is Congressman Robert Adderholt. May God bless all of our students representing our high schools during this season, and may God bless the United States of America. I'm Robert Adderholt, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Adderholt for Congress.
Specials this week at Foodland and Boaz and Foodland Plus in Albertville. Prairie Fresh Bone-In Assorted Pork Chops Family Pack, $1.79 a pound. Family Pack Fresh Ground Chuck, 80% lean, $5.49 a pound. Preferred Angus Beef New York Strip Steak, Family Pack, $9.99 a pound. Wholemeal Black Label Bacon, 16-ounce regular or thick, $4.99 each. Colorado Russet Potatoes, 8-pound bag, $2.99 each. Red Ripe Roma Tomatoes, $1.39 a pound. Sweet Baby's Barbecue Sauce, 18-ounce, 2 for $4. At Foodland and Boaz and Foodland Plus in Albertville.
And we are back on game night. Jeff Allen along with Coach Jeff Milwee and Dale Stallings. Glad to have you along. And during the break, I just found out, because he found out last week, congratulations, Coach Milwee. You're going to have a granddaughter.
Yeah, we are so excited. We've got 2 boys. Now I'm going to get spoil this little girl a lot. So we're excited.
And it's your daughter,
Anna,
and she is the athletic director at UNA.
Associate Athletic Director at UNA.
So congratulations to you, and I found that out right before we went back on the break. So congratulations,
so
Coach. And I'm sure you're excited, and
yep.
I'm excited about football tonight. It's going to be a great night of high school football all across the area. Let's look at some of the matchups tonight. Of course, area play, or I should say region play, begins in 4A Region 8. But tonight the Albertville Aggies are on the road Aggies looking to go 2-0, and I believe that'll be the first time since 2019 that they'd won 2 games in a row. And they're at Hazel Green tonight. Of course, you can hear that game right here on Power 107.5 FM after we finish here on game night tonight. The Boaz Pirates are on the road. They're at Plainview tonight to take on the Plainview Bears, and what a big night it will be for the Pruitt family there as Coach Luke Pruitt goes to Rainsville, a school he graduated from. Well, he went there. I think he really graduated from Fort Payne. But Boaz at Plainview tonight. Westminster is at Douglas. Arab is at home as they'll host Ardmore tonight. Asbury Praise Bimley Mountain and its DAR opening their season against Ider tonight. In DeKalb County tonight, the number 1 Fife Red Devils, they have their home opener. It's tonight against Sylvania. The Gadsden City Titans are on the road. They're looking for their first win of the year against Fort Payne. Valley Head is traveling to Section. And also tonight, it's Westbrook. They're playing at Asheville. Coosa Christian is at Alexandria. Cedar Bluff is playing at Gaston. As we move down into Cherokee County, it's Sandrock at Spring Garden. Lindsay Lane is at Galesville, and Galesville is having alumni night as they celebrate their 100th year of football there at Galesville High School this season. Big matchup in Jackson County tonight. You've got North Jackson hosting Pisgah, and Woodville, they're hosting North Sand Mountain. Down in Blount County tonight, you've got Susan Moore at Southeastern. Aniana is at home again tonight in a ranked matchup against Corner. Corner ranked number 7, Aniana number 10. Big matchup between Locust Fork and J.B. Pennington in Bluntsville tonight. And Appalachian is playing at Cleveland. Big game down in Calhoun County tonight. We'll have Oxford. They'll be hosting Jacksonville in a top 10 matchup. Oxford ranked number 9 and Jacksonville ranked number 10. And I told you we've got regional play starting tonight as we've got the Gunnersville Wildcats hosting Sardis in 4A Region 8 play. Crossville is on the road. They're taking on number 4 Scottsboro. Good Hope plays at Brewer tonight. Fairview is hosting Hayden in a non-region matchup, a big one over in Cherokee County as Piedmont travels to Center to take on the Cherokee County Warriors. Coach, a great lineup of high school football in our area this evening.
A lot of good games. Those teams that are ranked pretty high, and it's going to be interesting. Some of those that are playing, the Jacksonville-Oxford game ought to be an outstanding one. They say Jacksonville's loaded, and I think Oxford is too.
Well, both those teams had impressive wins last week. And Jacksonville went into Piedmont, the Field of Champions, and beat Piedmont 34-8 in that game, 34-7. And Oxford dominated Gadsden City. They jumped out big on Gadsden City, won 56-28 last week. The Fife Red Devils and Sylvania, of course, Fife. This is the 67th meeting between those two teams, and Coach Waltrip played for Coach Benefield when he coached at Sylvania. So that's kind of a matchup. I want to ask you about that. We've got a father coaching against a son tonight. We've got a coach coaching against a former player. You've never coached against your son, but I'm sure you've probably coached against players or people that you've competed against.
I have, and it's not a lot of fun for us coaches. The biggest one I had, we talked about this last week when we played Sardis, and Jaredon was the coach out there, and I was the first-year head coach, and I told myself, I think you cheated somewhere. But that, it's tough for the families, and in the Pruitt families, that's deep right there. You got Luke, you got Jeremy, and you got Adele, and that's tough. You don't want to see your kids not succeed, but you want to succeed also. So it's a tough week, but it ought to be a great game.
Of course, as we talked about 4A Region 8, as we begin region play, very important games now. That's a 9-team region, so it's going to be a little different, adding an extra region game. Of course, most of these games, it looks like in my mind, the favored teams, because you've got Gunnersville hosting Sardis, Scottsboro hosting Crossville, Brewer at Good Hope, and that Good Hope team proved to me last week they're to be reckoned with in this region. Of course, Fairview, who's had a great season, even though that George Redding is not there. Barry Simmons is now the head football coach there. They're hosting Hayden, but those are big games tonight for those teams.
Yeah, and the Fairview, Coach Simmons has been there for a long time.
20 years as defensive coordinator.
I'm sure he's not going to change a whole lot, but Coach Redding did a heck of a job when he was there. He's a great coach, good guy, and wish him a lot of fun during his retirement. But Fairview will be a very they'll compete against you, and I know they lost a lot of seniors last year, but they'll still got a big tradition, and they'll be good for the years out.
Let's talk about the game that folks are going to hear right here on Power 107.5 FM after game night tonight. That's the Albertville Aggies. They're on the road tonight. They're playing at Hazel Green against the Trojans. Now, the Albertville Aggies and Hazel Green, this is their fifth meeting. They're 2-2 against one another. Albertville defeated Hazel Green in the last meeting 42-14, and that was in 2019. And that was during a period that the Aggies won 3 in a row back in 2019. And we said earlier in the program, the last time Albertville has won 2 in a row, you have to go back to that time in 2019. So, Coach, big game tonight for Albertville. We talked about it last week. We thought they would get the win last week against Paul Bryant, and now they've won. How do they prepare, and how do they go on the road and play tonight?
Well, it's important that they play well. Usually, and this is coach talk, you usually see the most improvement in the second week of the second game, simply because you've done that. You went through pregame. You've had communication problems. You got that fixed out. You know who's going to be your second team and all that. So you should improve this second week by a ton over the first week. Now, Albertville's got to understand that they can't just show up. They got to prepare and they got to get ready. I know Hazel Green's having they've had coaching changes, so they've been down a little bit, but this is an important game for them. If they can start off 2-0, it'll sure help their confidence.
Big win for Albertville last week. When's the last time you knew Albertville had a 100-yard rusher, a 100-yard receiver, and a 100-yard passer in the same game? That happened last week as C.J. Zuniga, 174 yards passing and a touchdown. You had Kinsley Surratt. He had 100 yards rushing. Jackson Maltby pitched in 62 yards rushing. Then Cam Ballinger, who transferred in this year, a big play in the game. He had like a 96-yard touchdown reception. He had 132 yards in receiving. So Albertville proved they could run the football last week against Paul Bryant. They proved they could throw. They could make explosive plays, and that's always big in a football game.
And they played pretty good up on defense, too. I think they allowed one of their touchdowns was a kickoff return. So, they got to get better in the kicking game. But they played pretty well last week.
You talked about Hazel Green. They went through a coaching transition kind of within season because Jawan Garth accepted that job. Then about 3 weeks later, moved on to East Limestone. And David O'Connor, a longtime coach, he's been coaching like 25 years. This is his first year at Hazel Green, and they didn't play very well last week as they went on the road, played last Thursday night down at Huffman. This is a young football team. They're only showing like 7 seniors on their roster. So it's a young football team, a team that didn't play very well last week. This is a team much like Albertville has been over the last 10 years. The last winning season that Hazel Green had, you had to go all the way back to 2016 when they were 6-4. And since that time, they just kind of struggled here, winning only 15 games in the last 5 or 6 years, Coach. So this is a program in need of a win. And as a coach, after a 41-3 loss on the road, you've got your home opener coming up. How would you approach that?
Well, they are a young football team. They got to find some success in every week, something they can build on. And, they've had so many coaching changes that hadn't helped them at all. So, but Albertville's got to play. They got to respect his opponent. And, they should win this football game, but you better be prepared.
In their roster, and I don't know who they started at quarterback last week, they listed 3 quarterbacks. Right. 2 of them are freshmen, and one of them is a 10th grader. So I don't know. They may play all 3 in the game. I do know that Jaquez Springer, outstanding running back for them. He's only a junior. He's back, and they've got a senior wide receiver that some are looking at. Big, tall kid, like 6'2", 205, on the outside. So he'll be tough to defend if they can get the ball to him. He's a senior. His name is Cameron Moore. But the Albertville Aggies, they're looking for their second consecutive win to open up the season tonight as they travel to Hazel Green. Bob Grimwood Stadium is the place for tonight's game. And, of course, Barry Galloway and John Gladden and the crew will be there to bring you all the action of Albertville and Hazel Green. That'll follow game night here on Power 107.5. Congratulations to our student athletes of the week this week, Cade Lewis, who plays football at Douglas High School, and Jaylee Kemper, who plays flag football at Boaz High School. Student Athlete of the Week is made possible each week by Bring Your Own Bids Retail and Mike Richards Automotive.
Hi, I'm Randy Jones, your hometown trusted choice insurance agency. Randy Jones and Associates knows the playing field, and we have been proudly serving communities across North Alabama for 46 years. Having the right protection on the field is important. The RJA team of experienced agents will help you find affordable, customized insurance coverage for your family, business, and future. Stop by a local Randy Jones Associates office for a free, no-obligation quote or complimentary policy review.
It's football time in Alabama. Our students are learning big American lessons. You can start with your God-given talents, and through practice, hard work, and sacrifice, you have the ability to become champions. This is Congressman Robert Adderholt. May God bless all of our students representing our high schools during this season, and may God bless the United States of America. I'm Robert Adderholt, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Adderholt for Congress.
Hey guys, Jerry O'Neill, broker and owner of Southern Elite Realty. It's Friday, and it's time for some Friday night football. We're proud of the many years being a part of the Friday Night Scoreboard family. Be sure to slow down, come together with friends and family, and go support your team, making memories. When you think real estate, think Southern Elite Realty. When it's time to purchase or sell, think Southern Elite Realty. It's an honor to serve you. Check us out at mysouthernelite.com or give us a call at 256-202-1648. Call today and let's call it sold.
Albertville Discount Pharmacy has been providing prescription and healthcare needs to the Sand Mountain area for over 30 years. With 3 pharmacists, Amy Honey, Brett Hogan, and Eddie Campbell, you will feel the confidence their staff provides. They want to be your pharmacy. Phone 256-878-1515, or you can come by Albertville Discount Pharmacy, your hometown pharmacy at 422 North Broad Street in Albertville.
The snap is good. The connection is great. FTC brings fiber internet to your home turf this football season. No buffering, no dropped connections, just reliable high-speed internet that's built to perform where it matters most. Whether you're streaming the game or checking the scores, we've got the speed you need. Score big with FTC's fiber, your home team for high-speed internet. Call 256-638-2144 or visit farmerstel.com today. FTC, we keep you connected.
Specials this week at Foodland and Boaz and Foodland Plus in Albertville. Prairie Fresh Bone-In Assorted Pork Chops Family Pack, $1.79 a pound. Family Pack Fresh Ground Chuck, 80% lean, $5.49 a pound. Preferred Angus Beef New York Strip Steak, Family Pack, $9.99 a pound. Wholemeal Black Label Bacon, 16-ounce regular or thick, $4.99 each. Colorado Russet Potatoes, 8-pound bag, $2.99 each. Red Ripe Roma Tomatoes, $1.39 a pound. Sweet Baby's Barbecue Sauce, 18-ounce, 2 for $4. At Foodland and Boaz and Foodland Plus in Albertville.
And we are back on game night with our engineer Dale Stallings, Coach Jeff Milwee. I'm Jeff Allen. It's week 1 of the high school football season. We've already talked about the Albertville Hazel Green, of course. You've got Westminster at Douglas. We're going to talk about that in a moment. Arab is hosting Ardmore tonight. You've got Brindley Mountain. They're hosting Asbury. DAR opens the season with Ider at Grant tonight. In DeKalb County, Fife is hosting Sylvania. Fort Payne hosting Gadsden City. Section is hosting Valley Head. Also, we talked about those 4A Region 8 games where Sardis travels to Gunnersville. You've got Crossville and Scottsboro playing at Trammell Field tonight. Brewer and Good Hope, Hayden at Fairview, and Cherokee County is hosting Piedmont tonight. And I guess, Coach, one of the biggest games in the state tonight is happening in Rainsville, Alabama. as the Plainview Bears, they're ranked number 1 in Class 3A. They host the Boaz Pirates, and you've got a father-son matchup, and as Luke said, there's not as much father-son as it is brother against brother in that game.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah, you got Jeremy that's running the defense, and they've all worked together, but they want to beat each other as bad as not as bad as they can, but they just
yes,
want
they
to
do. You know that they're brother against brother. Let's not.
But you got Jeremy that's a heck of a football coach and a defensive coach, offensive coach, whatever. But he's wanting to shut Luke out, and Luke wants to score 40. But this is a good Plainview team. They've had 2, 3, or 4 move-ins in that's really helped them, and it ought to be a heck of a game. The biggest thing I see is that Boaz has got to run the football a little bit better than they did last week.
I know that someone asked Coach Dale Pruitt at Media Days this week about his wife, Melissa, and they asked and said, who is your wife going to be pulling for? And he looked them dead in the eye, and he said, she better be pulling for Plainview.
Yeah.
But that puts her in a really tough position.
It does. I don't know if Fran would be on my side if I had to play AJ. So, it's tough. It's tough on both families, but it's going to be a heck of a football game.
It's the 5th meeting ever between the Plainview Bears and the Boaz Pirates. Plainview's won 3. Those 4 meetings, Boaz won 1. The Boaz win was back in 1996. You're raising your hand. 26-7, a win for the Boaz Pirates that night. And Coach talked about Calvin Johnson and Mac Long. Those are 2 of the young men that transferred in. They had big nights last weekend leading this Plainview team to their win over Good Hope. A win, as we said earlier, is a little closer than I thought it would be, 31-24 over in Coleman County last week. But Calvin Johnson, again, a big night rushing. He had 90 yards rushing, a couple of touchdowns receiving, 8 receptions for 161 yards. And Mac Long, 10 of 13, 188 yards. Most of those, of course, going to Calvin Johnson. And a young man who played very well for Coach Pruitt last year was Rylan Guess. He rushed for 49 yards and a touchdown. But they got key interceptions from Trip Ledbetter and Calvin Johnson in the game. And that's one thing you're going to know, that this Plainview Bear team is going to be prepared both offensively and especially defensively tonight for Boaz. And they're going to try to take that running game away and make Boaz throw the ball, or maybe vice versa, take the throwing game away and make them try to run the football. What do you think?
Well, they know each other very well. They know what adjustments they're going to make. They may come up with some things that neither one of them seen each other do, but they know each other so well that it's a chess match. I know what Jeremy's going to do. He's going to try to take away the wideouts for Boaz and make them run the football. And those 2 wideouts for Boaz got speed. They just ran by Coleman last week. Now, I don't know if they can do that to Plainview or not, but Boaz is going to have to find a way to run the football a little bit better.
And sitting here thinking about a matchup on the field tonight, and I don't know what numbers they are on the field, but I'm guessing with Jeremy Pruitt, wherever Sage Bennett goes, Calvin Johnson is going with him. Yes. Don't you think that?
I would think so. Yeah.
And look at that matchup. And, of course, I think a lot comes back down, as you talked about the running game. That means up front. Now, last week, Dayton Porter had 71 yards rushing and scored a touchdown in the game, but Boaz was mainly throwing the football last week. 280 yards from Bo Bennett, 181 yards in receiving from Sage Bennett. They accounted for 2 of the 3 Boaz touchdowns. Porter, he had the other. So big night there for the Boaz Pirates. As both teams, a lot of players coming back, a lot of experience on the field tonight. This should be a great matchup between 2 of the top teams in the area.
I think it will be one of the better games of the all year because of who they are. And Plainview, I think, is got a lot of seniors on their team. Boaz is still pretty young, but they got kids that played a lot last year. It's going to be an exciting game. Be one to go watch.
The Plainview Bears hosting the Boaz Pirates at Plainview Stadium tonight. Kickoff at 7 o'clock, and some people are calling it the Pruitt Bowl,
Yeah, the Pruitt
is
Bowl.
Coach Dale Pruitt obviously coaching for the Plainview Bears, Luke Pruitt for the Boaz Pirates, and, of course, Jeremy Pruitt has a lot to do with that program at Rainsville right now. The Douglas Eagles were open last week. They had an impressive jamboree a couple of weeks ago at home against Guntersville. They get their home opener tonight at Arthur Jarvis Stadium. It's the first meeting ever between the Douglas Eagles and the Westminster Wildcats, a private school out of Huntsville. And, Coach, what do you think about this Douglas team that's bringing back an experienced team this year for Coach Brandon Lyles?
I was impressed. Their jamboree week, they played well. I thought the quarterback had improved so much from last year. He's what makes them go, and they got a lot of kids back.
A lot of kids has played a lot of football for Coach Brandon Lyles. They finished 5-5 last year. They move up. You know, after tonight, they've got Boaz, May Jemison, Albertville in the first half of the season, then Lee, Columbia, Fort Payne, and Arab to close out the season. They play Collinsville in a non-region game in Week 5, Etowah in Week 10. Do you think this team can make a run to the playoffs in that region?
I think they can. I think they got a good shot at it. I think their key is got to stay healthy. You know, that's always been their problem in the past. They didn't have a lot of depth, but I think they got more depth than they've had in the last few years. So I think they got a good chance to make a run at the playoffs.
Well, Coach, when I look at these names, it's going to be keys for the Douglas Eagles. They were the same names from last year when I called Baker Lyles and Chris Patel and Keelan Green, Landon Stewart, Judson Murray. They've got a young tight end they're really high on. His name is Noah Williamson. But as Coach Brandon Lyles told us during media days, he feels like the strengths of this football team are going to be those skill players we mentioned, but also he thinks he's going to be better on the defensive side of the ball this year.
And that's what's hurt them in the past. Offensively, they've been able to score some points, but they give up a lot of points. And, you know, the key here is that Coach Lyles has been there how many years now?
We're going on 7, believe it or not. You look at him, and he looks like he just played a couple of years ago, but this is his 7th season.
And that's been a key. You know, they went through coaches after coaches, and they finally got a little stability, and Coach has done and he's a good football coach. I like Coach Lyles, and he's done a good job, and he's developed these kids, and now they're getting to the age that they're really producing for him.
And, Coach, I want to take that as a point that we made earlier at Crossville about the commitment made there by Jason Walker just to be in that program. And you got to take your lumps sometimes, and that's what Coach Lyles has done at the Douglas program. They're beginning, it seems like, to turn a corner. They're getting more and more competitive. They got a chance. They're in every game that they play in. But it takes a commitment to do that in a program, put a staff around you, and these kids know what to expect from year to year, and they'll come out and play for you. If you make a commitment to them, they usually will make a commitment to you.
Exactly. You know, when you're changing coaches every year, sometimes people don't have any patience, and it takes patience to develop a team and build a team, and they finally doing that at Douglas. And I think they played. You know, they've had chances the last 2 years to make the playoffs, and just had some bad luck or injuries, but you finally got. We used to talk about if you played 10th graders, you started 10th graders on your varsity team, how many 10th graders you had was how many losses you'd have. And it really made sense. But you need kids that have played in the system for 2 or 3 years, and by that time they play the third year, they should be pretty good football players.
And on that point, we're going to talk about the Westminster Wildcats. Of course, Louis LeBlanc, he's had a 11th season. He's over there. He's like 63-47 in a school that only started playing football back in 2006, so about 20 years ago. And he's kind of built that program, turned it around, had a great season about 2 years ago. Fell off a little bit last year, went 4-6. He made the playoffs. He got beat by Cherokee County. But this is a team, Coach, that only has 6 seniors listed on their roster. Last week, they opened up against Madison County, and if I told you the defense gave up explosive plays, you could understand that with new players on the field.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many seniors they had last year. They had a pretty good team last year. What did they
went 4-6.
4
They
and
lost.
6, okay.
They went 4-5 in regular season, and of course they were in that region with North Jackson. Madison Academy was in that region last year. So that was a tough 9-team region.
But they made a commitment there. They built up their facilities and spent some money, and so I think they'll be a team to reckon with in the private school.
It's the first meeting ever as the Douglas Eagles. They're at home tonight at Arthur Jarvis Stadium. They'll be taking on the Westminster Wildcats as the Douglas Eagles look to open the 2026 season with a win tonight. Coach, a big game over in Cherokee County tonight. These two old rivals have played 83 times. This is a true rivalry, folks, because Piedmont has won 40 of the 82 meetings. Cherokee County's won 39, and there's been 3 ties. 40, 39 to 3 ties. Now, that's a rivalry going back and forth over 83 years. Piedmont has won the last 2. They won last year 24-8. Now, Cherokee County, they were open last week. They beat in their Jamboree. They beat North Jackson like 14-0 a couple of weeks ago. Coach Bailey Blanchard, he has ties to Cherokee County. He played at Piedmont for Coach Steve Smith. Last year, he was a head football coach at Glencoe, but when Coach Jacob Kelly left Cherokee County, Mama called.
Yep.
Because Bailey Blanchard, even though he didn't play there, his mother teaches there, and his daddy coached at Piedmont. That's the kind of rivalry we're talking about.
Yep. And this has been, like you said, it's so close, and they've both been very good. Piedmont's won, I don't know how many state championships, but Cherokee County's always been in the hunt. And they both have good athletes, good players, good coaches, and and you talking about going to a game, this would be one, if I didn't want to go to watch Boys and Plainview, this would be a good one to go to.
Bobby Joe Johnson Field at the Warrior Stadium and Center tonight is going to be the place to be over there. Talking about this Cherokee County Warriors and talking to Coach Bailey Blanchard this year, he feels like the strength of his football team is going to be up front on defense. He thinks he can stop the run and force people to throw the ball. It'll come down to if he can defend the pass. But again, he thinks early in the season may struggle a little bit because he only has one offensive lineman coming back from last year's team. And Cherokee County, you can always count on them to be a very physical up front and run the football.
Yeah, and they're going to have some skilled people that can run too, and that's the big key. But Piedmont does too.
And Piedmont, they're trying to bounce back. You can't say this very much about Piedmont, but they lost 34-8 last week to Jacksonville at home at Field of Champions. And I just feel like, Coach, going into that game, maybe they were a little overconfident in that. And it can, with Piedmont, you look back through the years, they've lost in the semifinals the last 2 years to Mars Hill, but they had a lot of guys coming back, 11 seniors, 18 juniors on this football team. A lot of the guys that made plays for them last year were coming back. But sometimes, do you think going into a season that you can kind of overlook an opponent like Jacksonville, who finished 6-6 last year?
Well, I thought that to begin with, and then I heard that Jacksonville had 6 kids to move in that were college prospects. So that might have made a big difference in Jacksonville right there.
Well, let me tell you, in the game, if I told you that a team had a 73-yard kickoff return, an 80-yard touchdown reception, and a 75-yard interception return, you'd have probably think they'd win the game, right?
Right.
Which they did. That's what those big plays, you usually don't see a Piedmont team give up big plays like that.
You don't. Not at all. They've been so consistent on both sides of the ball, so it really was a shocker. But I heard the players that moved in were really good football players, so Jacksonville may be a team to watch.
The lowest point total since Coach Jonathan Miller has been there. This is his 3rd season, and the lowest total yardage under Coach Miller in his 4th season there at Piedmont last week. So a very proud football team took it on the chin last week, has got to turn around and play another rivalry game this week. What do you expect out of the Bulldogs?
I expect them to play real well.
I do too. I expect Piedmont to play at the top of their game at Cherokee County tonight. It's going to be a big one over there. As we said, the 83rd meeting between Piedmont and Cherokee County is at Warrior Stadium, Bobby Joe Johnson Field this evening. And congratulations to Gaspar Pasquale of Crossville High School. Gaspar was this week's Marshall DeKalb Electric Lineman of the Week. Each week during the regular season, Marshall DeKalb Electric will recognize outstanding line play with the Lineman of the Week award. Thanks for listening to Game Night on Power 107.5 FM.
Albertville Discount Pharmacy has been providing prescription and healthcare needs to the Sand Mountain area for over 30 years. With 3 pharmacists, Amy Honey, Brett Hogan, and Eddie Campbell, you will feel the confidence their staff provides. They want to be your pharmacy. Phone 256-878-1515, or you can come by Albertville Discount Pharmacy, your hometown pharmacy at 422 North Broad Street in Albertville.
Hi, I'm Randy Jones, your hometown trusted choice insurance agency. Randy Jones and Associates knows the playing field, and we have been proudly serving communities across North Alabama for 46 years. Having the right protection on the field is important. The RJA team of experienced agents will help you find affordable, customized insurance coverage for your family, business, and future. Stop by a local Randy Jones Associates office for a free, no-obligation quote or complimentary policy review.
The snap is good. The connection is great. FTC brings fiber internet to your home turf this football season. No buffering, no dropped connections, just reliable high-speed internet that's built to perform where it matters most. Whether you're streaming the game or checking the scores, we've got the speed you need. Score big with FTC's fiber, your home team for high-speed internet. Call 256-638-2144 or visit farmerstel.com today. FTC, we keep you connected.
Hey guys, Jerry O'Neill, broker and owner of Southern Elite Realty. It's Friday, and it's time for some Friday night football. We're proud of the many years being a part of the Friday Night Scoreboard family. Be sure to slow down, come together with friends and family, and go support your team, making memories. When you think real estate, think Southern Elite Realty. When it's time to purchase or sell, think Southern Elite Realty. It's an honor to serve you. Check us out at mysouthernelite.com or give us a call at 256-202-1648. Call today and let's call it sold.
It's football time in Alabama. Our students are learning big American lessons. You can start with your God-given talents, and through practice, hard work, and sacrifice, you have the ability to become champions. This is Congressman Robert Adderholt. May God bless all of our students representing our high schools during this season, and may God bless the United States of America. I'm Robert Adderholt, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Adderholt for Congress.
Specials this week at Foodland and Boaz and Foodland Plus in Albertville. Prairie Fresh Bone-In Assorted Pork Chops Family Pack, $1.79 a pound. Family Pack Fresh Ground Chuck, 80% lean, $5.49 a pound. Preferred Angus Beef New York Strip Steak, Family Pack, $9.99 a pound. Hormel Black Label Bacon, 16-ounce regular or thick, $4.99 each. Colorado Russet Potatoes, 8-pound bag, $2.99 each. Red Ripe Roma Tomatoes, $1.39 a pound. Sweet Baby's Barbecue Sauce, 18-ounce, 2 for $4. At Foodland and Boaz and Foodland Plus in Albertville.
And we are back on Game Night. Thanks for joining us here in week 1 of the high school football season. And Coach, before we look at a couple of other games, I want to send out a shout out to one of my favorite people, as you told me that he called you this week and was listening into the program. That's Coach Lyle Darnell, Hall of Fame coach from Glencoe, won state championships. And one of the things I want to say about Coach Darnell, when he was at Boaz and he was working with you, and I think he worked with Drew Knowles, that when I would go in and visit, whenever I would go in and sit down and Coach Darnell would talk, and he would always be drawing plays. I never will forget napkins. He had a piece of paper. He was always thinking and drawing plays. And outstanding football coach, a great friend. And Coach Darnell, thanks for listening to the program.
He's a good man, and I love him to death. He gave me my first chance in 1978 at Glencoe High School, and you're talking about drawing up plays. Lou used to get on him. He'd do it in church, and she would pop him on the leg and tell him to stop. But Coach Darnell, we love you and wish you was still on the sideline.
91 years old and still loves high school football. And thanks for listening, Coach. Big game down in Blount County tonight as the Cleveland Panthers, they opened up the season last week with a shutout win over Susan Moore. Coach Will Glaze, we were down there a couple of weeks ago, and he was very optimistic about the season, talking about he had made a commitment, as we talked about earlier, This is his 5th season. When he came to school, this group was in the 7th grade, and he's built this team around this group of 7 seniors on the team. And, man, they came out and played well last week against Susan Moore.
Sometimes you take some lumps by playing those young kids, but they grow up, and once they get experience and get to their 11th and 12th grade years, you'll have something.
Brendan Steele, a sophomore quarterback. We heard from coaches in Blount County, this may be the best athlete in Blount County. He had a great game last week against Susan Moore. He rushed for 201 yards and 3 touchdowns and passed for 71 yards in the win of Cleveland over Susan Moore last week. This is a 42nd meeting between Cleveland and Appalachian. Cleveland has won 33 of those 41 games, but Appalachian has won 3 in a row over the Cleveland Panthers. Last year, Appalachian was a 20-14 win over Cleveland. And this is a team that Coach Neil Whittington he's done a great job there. You look at where they've come the last 2 years, winning 9 games in 2024, set a school record last year by going 10-0 for the first time in school history. They lost to Marion County in the second round of the playoffs. Last year, they lost their best running back, the Gilliland kid, about halfway through the season. And this year, they lost their quarterback for the season, possibly in the Jamboree, and Colton Caldwell. But this team still keeps on going. They had a big win over Locust Fork last week, 43-20.
Big win for them. You know, they lost they had that class that was so good. They won the state championship in baseball, I think, and have done well in football. And everybody didn't really expect a lot, but they came out last week and beat Locust Fork, and he does a great job. So this will be an interesting game with them in Cleveland.
Again, I know Coach Whittington is a graduate of Appalachian High School, but here he is in his 6th season there at Appalachian. Again, the commitment made. You know, they went back and forth between coaches, and then Coach Whittington comes in, goes 1-8, goes 5-6, goes 4-6, goes 9-3, goes 11-1. Because of the commitment made, you see the improvement in the program, just as we're talking about Coach Will Glaze. You know, the program was at the top of the heap when he came in. Then he lost a great group of seniors and had to rebuild again there, and they're beginning to come back, and he feels like the best football is ahead of them. But it's a big game in Blount County. You coached in Blount County for years. Great folks down there. A lot of good rivalries in Blount County.
Yeah, and some of them don't even play anymore. You know, you don't have the Pendon Aniana game. That used to be a big game. They don't play anymore, and I love it when they all get together and play. It's always good football.
Coach, let's talk about one more game before we have to get out of here tonight, and that's a big one up in Fort Payne between 2 teams that I know got off to disappointing starts last week. In the Top Cat game, Fort Payne lost to Scottsboro 20-14 on the road last week. Gadsden City at home last week against Oxford. They got behind early in that game and struggled to get back, never did get back in the game. Oxford won at 56-28 in that game. And that's 2 teams tonight. There's kind of a rivalry game between these two. That's become a rivalry down through the years between Gadsden City and Fort Payne. But 2 teams desperately looking for a win here in week 1.
Yeah, both of them coming off loss. And Gadsden did not play well against Oxford last week. And I really thought that would be a closer game. You know, Gadsden's got the quarterback that's committed to Auburn, I think, and he's a good player. But Oxford had answers for him. Fort Payne, Scottsboro, that's a game that can go either way. And Scottsboro got the win at Fort Payne, which is a little surprising. But Fort Payne's always well coached, and they'll bounce back.
Sam Solly, last week you were talking about, he was really the only highlight for Gadsden City. He was 10 of 20 for 212 yards, had a couple of touchdowns, had a freshman receiver that had a big night with his first touchdown reception. Not a lot on the ground. Amir Thomas had 68 yards rushing and a couple of touchdowns for Gadsden City, but those were in the second half after the game pretty much had been decided. For the Fort Payne Wildcats, their offense came from Caden Adams. You know, they lost a lot of their offensive production from 2025, and that's one of the things that Coach Elmore was concerned about going into the game. They did get down. They did come back. Scottsboro gambled late in the game and went for it on a 4th and 2 about midfield because, as Coach Van said, we were gassed, and if we knew we gave Fort Payne the ball back, they would have probably won the game. but it was a great rivalry game there. But Fort Payne comes up on the losing end. Gadsden City, they won 6 of 8 of the 8 meetings. This is the 9th meeting, but Fort Payne was a winner last year over Gadsden City, 30-17. So the Gadsden City Titans, they travel to Fort Payne tonight to take on the Fort Payne Wildcats. When we come back on game night, we're going to wrap it up tonight and send you out to the stadium over in Hazel Green, where Barry Galloway and the crew are there to bring you all the action of Albertville and Hazel Green on Power 107.5 FM.
Hi, I'm Randy Jones, your hometown trusted choice insurance agency. Randy Jones and Associates knows the playing field, and we have been proudly serving communities across North Alabama for 46 years. Having the right protection on the field is important. The RJA team of experienced agents will help you find affordable, customized insurance coverage for your family, business, and future. Stop by a local Randy Jones Associates office for a free, no-obligation quote or complimentary policy review.
It's football time in Alabama. Our students are learning big American lessons. You can start with your God-given talents, and through practice, hard work, and sacrifice, you have the ability to become champions. This is Congressman Robert Adderholt. May God bless all of our students representing our high schools during this season, and may God bless the United States of America. I'm Robert Adderholt, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Adderholt for Congress.
Hey guys, Jerry O'Neill, broker and owner of Southern Elite Realty. It's Friday, and it's time for some Friday night football. We're proud of the many years being a part of the Friday Night Scoreboard family. Be sure to slow down, come together with friends and family, and go support your team, making memories. When you think real estate, think Southern Elite Realty. When it's time to purchase or sell, think Southern Elite Realty. It's an honor to serve you. Check us out at mysouthernelite.com or give us a call at 256-202-1648. Call today and let's call it sold.
Albertville Discount Pharmacy has been providing prescription and healthcare needs to the Sand Mountain area for over 30 years. With 3 pharmacists, Amy Honey, Brett Hogan, and Eddie Campbell, you will feel the confidence their staff provides. They want to be your pharmacy. Phone 256-878-1515, or you can come by Albertville Discount Pharmacy, your hometown pharmacy at 422 North Broad Street in Albertville.
The snap is good. The connection is great. FTC brings fiber internet to your home turf this football season. No buffering, no dropped connections, just reliable high-speed internet that's built to perform where it matters most. Whether you're streaming the game or checking the scores, we've got the speed you need. Score big with FTC's fiber, your home team for high-speed internet. Call 256-638-2144 or visit farmerstel.com today. FTC, we keep you connected.
Specials this week at Foodland and Boaz and Foodland Plus in Albertville. Prairie Fresh Bone-In Assorted Pork Chops Family Pack, $1.79 a pound. Family Pack Fresh Ground Chuck, 80% lean, $5.49 a pound. Preferred Angus Beef New York Strip Steak, Family Pack, $9.99 a pound. Wholemeal Black Label Bacon, 16-ounce regular or thick, $4.99 each. Colorado Russet Potatoes, 8-pound bag, $2.99 each. Red Ripe Roma Tomatoes, $1.39 a pound. Sweet Baby's Barbecue Sauce, 18-ounce, 2 for $4. At Foodland and Boaz and Foodland Plus in Albertville.
Hey, thanks for joining us on game night for week number 1. That's going to wrap us up for today. Hope you'll join us tonight on the high school football scoreboard at 9 o'clock on WQSB. Phil Harris will join me as we'll have all the scores and highlights. Or if you listen to the Albertville game, you can stay right here on Power 107.5, and right after the Albertville game, we'll have high school football scoreboard. So stick around for all the high school scores tonight after the game. And we're headed out to Hazel Green now as Barry Galloway, John Gladden, and the crew are there as the Albertville Aggies look to open the season 2-0 as the Albertville Aggies will host the Hazel Green or play at Hazel Green tonight against the Trojans. Good night, everyone, and have a great weekend.